I said fight. It was the most pathetic backhand I've ever seen in my life. I'm sorry, but I've seen more violent fights from Megan when she's wanted the microphone in the commentary box. She digs her nails into me, and I get a really sore shoulder on my right arm. I'm sorry, but that was pathetic. You in NASCAR? Yeah, we have fights. Get your fists out. Don't just do a pathetic little across it. Get your fists out. I joined this sport because I was promised 3 things. 1, close racing. 2, drama. 3, fights. Have I seen any of them this year? Only 1. Anyway, enough of that rant. Smith, as I said, now Smith has been fined $10,000, and we don't typically see drivers get penalised for fighting after a race unless NASCAR feels they went too far. And also, they can't make any money off it because, you know, they like to show on every single social media report under God's earth. But, Ben, are you surprised by this penalty? And should NASCAR penalise drivers for fighting more often? And we know that fights have a long history in NASCAR. Case in point, that's why I've just said everything I've just said.
Yeah, well, I'm going to get the driver on the... Was it Martin Schneider? Austin Hill, like, genuinely punched somebody and, like, knocked him onto the ground at Martinsville a couple of years ago.
A couple of years ago.
I want to say it was Martin Schneider. Don't quote me 100% on that.
There was Ty Gibbs and someone in the spring race there last year as well.
Ty Gibbs and Sam Mayer went back and forth. Yeah, but that was the fall race when Ty came back and dumped his then teammate at the time, Brandon Jones, for the win. And again, he was already locked in. Brandon Jones wasn't. What does it come back to? This damn playoff format. I'm sorry. There's no way around it. This just seems very, very silly to me. Like you said, Josh, it was really just the most pathetic fight, if you can even call it that. I mean, and I get Chandler Smith's frustration for sure. We talked about this in Encore a little bit Monday night as well. You know, he was interviewed after Homestead and said, he told Fox Sports' Bob Bockhurst, like, look, I could be working for my dad's construction company next year. Maybe that comment is why they wanted to make the punishment hurt a little bit and say, oh, this kid doesn't have any money. Let's go ahead and fine him. I don't know. It seems very, very strange to me that they would, intervene in this kind of situation when we've seen fights in NASCAR before, and all the drivers have gotten is just, probation or something, again, an even less slap on the wrist penalty than the one we were just talking about, Matt. So I don't know. I mean, I think, like, if it's a case like what we saw, the reason I brought Austin Hill up was, like, if you genuinely injure a driver or risk hurting a driver or clearly egregiously cross the line, then yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with NASCAR intervening. But this here, like, it can't even really call it a punch. It was more just kind of like a slap on the shoulder here, like, what are you doing, man, or something like that. I don't know. It didn't seem egregious enough to me to warrant much of any sort of situation here when, like I said, far more violent fights, dare I say. Maybe that's not 100% the right word, but we've seen stuff in the past go completely maybe not unacknowledged but unpunished in this regard, or not fined in the same way. Again, it's more consistent inconsistency. I don't really know that I agree with this one.
Yeah, NASCAR lining their pockets ready for the Christmas party with this one. I feel like I don't know the ins and outs of why it happened. I've seen the clip, and then now we see, obviously they had the penalty report out yesterday, and you're just like, what? Huh? Whatever.
Yeah, and we confirmed it was Martin Schneider who was on the receiving end of that punch from Austin Hill there. So just to clarify, but yeah, I mean, again, a situation like that, sure, but not something like this. It seemed relatively minor to me. I don't know that it needed this.
I suppose, as you say, Matt, as well, lining the pockets for the Christmas party as well, because the stewarding this year...
I say that as jest, obviously.
Yeah, well, I say about the FIA all the time, so we're fine. But the stewarding this year, I think we keep talking about this so much about stewarding this year, but it has been severely inconsistent, like across the board. It has not set precedents at all. And they have been the most vocal championships saying, like, we actually want to set precedents. We actually want to make this means this, that means that. But actually, that means this and this means that. It doesn't make sense. They are changing it every single time they move the goalposts. And whether it being start times, when race ends, when a yellow comes out, do we actually mean that we know there's a caution coming, but we're going to wait until the millisecond before? It's, to both of you, we'll start with Matt on this one. do you reckon that it's got to be got under control quite quickly? Otherwise, it's going to lead to much more issues, potentially coming into Phoenix, where we're going to have a situation where everyone's going to be pretty much split 4 ways.
Yeah, and it could happen in any of the 3 races, I suppose, couldn't it, over the weekend with all 3 championships on the line? To Ben's point, it consistently inconsistent, and I feel like it's worse this year than it's been recently. And you mentioned, Josh, with race control calls as well. well, maybe I'm paying more attention to it, but just I don't know. There's lots of championships that have got to get lots of things under control over the off season. This probably won't be one of them.
Oh, you're going to enjoy Hots and Knots.
Yeah, I'm preempting Hots and Knots later.
Yeah, well, and I don't know. I mean, people are going to bring up. In fact, I think we might have gotten a chat comment here. But 1979 Daytona 500, like the race that really took NASCAR to another level, and kept it from maintain really just still being a regional Southern sport, and put it on national, CBS live flag to flag coverage, and it ends with that. Like, of course, everybody's going to associate, that with a finish, and that's an all-time classic moment. So I don't know, maybe fights are so common in hockey in the NHL, like, the referees have like a code of conduct. If 2 players start getting into it, like only when a player gets taken to the ground do they actually step in. They let the fight go on until it gets to that point, and then, appropriate penalties are handed out from there. I don't know. Maybe I guess fights aren't as common in NASCAR, but they are. They certainly aren't afraid to show them in highlight reels, and it's a part of NASCAR lore. Maybe we do need to come up with a more consistent way of regulating those.
Yeah, if there's blood, then maybe as well. First with a broken nose. That's my point of view.